the fat girl, and her grandmother. Jane is a sweet girl, who has her own life, but suddenly, she gets fat. Which affects her deeply, because her life used to be fantastic before. She has a best friend, named Lizzie. They have known each other since nursery school. And spent their whole lives together. But after this change in Jane's weight, Jane chooses to stay away from her friend. She becomes the only fat girl in the class. She feels so embarrassed, that's why she always stays alone. Lizzie didn't accept this change in their friendship. So she tries to talk to her by mentioning the topics that Jane loves the most, but it doesn't work. Days turn into months, and Jane is still keeping away from other students, even Lizzie. She believes that nobody wants her to be their friend because of her fatness. She feels shy and nervous, whenever the teacher or other students ask her any question. Her parents don't give her any attention, because they care more about her younger sister, who is sick. Although, Jane loves and takes care of her sister without any complaining. Her parents always criticize her, and ask her to do more, without caring about her. That caused Jane to have a lot of mixed feelings inside her. So she turned to food to relieve her stress. Food makes her feel comfortable, but this habit turns into an obsession that completely changes her body shape. The more she eats, the fatter she gets. And now, it becomes impossible to lose all this, in a day and night. Jane becomes more sensitive about how she looks, and she gets moved by every word the girls say about her. One of them says, "You are so fat, so you have to do exercises, or have an operation, to be beautiful like us." Lizzie hears them and steps in to defend her friend, but Jane flees to the bus, as soon as she sees her. For a moment, Lizzie gets disappointed, but then she lectures the girls and says, "Stop saying these hurtful words to Jane. She is human too. How about someone saying the same thing to you? Will you accept that?" The girls realize their mistake and stay silent. Then they say sorry and leave. When Jane returns home, she finds a big surprise waiting for her. Her beloved grandmother came to visit them. Jane was so happy to see her after an entire year. Jane hugs her, and tears start to fall from her eyes. Jane considers her grandmother as the safest place for her. Her grandmother also loves her, and always treats Jane and her sister equally. All family members gather at the dining table to eat together. Her sister also joins them. She is very pale and can hardly move. They were talking and laughing, but the grandmother notices that Jane isn't saying anything at all. She asks her, "Is there anything wrong, my child?" Jane says, "No, everything is okay, Grandma." The grandmother feels that Jane is hiding something, and she must know what it is. but she will let it slide only for tonight, because she doesn't want to pressure her to respond. The grandmother spent 3 days with them, but couldn't figure out the reason behind Jane's faded smile. When the grandmother prepares her bag to leave, she tells Jane, "You will come and live with me in my house." Her parents initially refuse, but they accept, after the grandmother persuades them. Jane was excited and happy at once, but she didn't show that. She packed all her suitcase without leaving anything, and moved into her grandmother's house. The grandmother starts to take good care of Jane, which makes Jane tell her everything. The old lady is shocked to hear her sweet little girl saying these things about herself, and what she has felt all the time. Jane starts to cry while talking, so her grandmother hugs her tight. She says, "It's not your fault, sweetheart. You are beautiful just the way you are. It must be so hard on you, my child. I will give you an advice. Don't try to change for anyone, because no one is worthy. Their thoughts and look toward you don't matter. What matters is that you accept yourself with all your flaws." After hearing these words, Jane cried a lot. She promises her grandmother that she won't listen to anyone, and will start a new life full of happiness again. Because there is no shame in being fat, at all. The next day at school, when Jane sees Lizzie sitting alone, she comes and sits next to her, then starts to talk to her. Lizzie opens her eyes in wonder. She feels overjoyed to see her best friend returns to her true personality. They continue talking till the bell rings, and go to their class together.